here's Brody Brazil.
Hey, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to this very unintentional series that I've started doing, covering Las Vegas media as they cover the A's and potential relocation to Southern Nevada. And let me just address this straight away. The common comment I've been seeing that I'm starting to approach some of these videos in what looks to be like a college journalism professor, or like this is some media studies course. No, I really don't intend for it to be that way. I'm just generally interested and curious about how Las Vegas is viewing their side of things. Obviously, I'm here in Northern California, so I'm looking for the different perspectives, impressions, and takes that they have versus how we view all of this here. And let me also say that across the board, not every single person or every single media outlet, not everybody, but generally speaking, most everybody has been doing a pretty good job at this. Fair, comprehensive, sensible, presenting as many sides as they know. This has been a difficult story to cover because not all the details are out there, or they don't all come out at once, or they're not very clear, but I digress. Like I said, overall, everybody been doing a pretty good job. Okay, this is Soo Kim. He is chairman of Bally's Corporation. Obviously, they've got the connection and agreement with the A's right now for that 9 acres of land at the Tropicana hotel site. And this video, by the way, is not going to be a compilation of different media coverage. This is actually going to be a long-form interview that he did with Jacqueline Schultz of Fox 5 in Las Vegas. So Jacqueline obviously has been on this story from its very beginnings in Las Vegas. She's been doing a tremendous job, and I want to highlight her work in this conversation. We'll start and stop it at various points to kind of make our points, but here is Mr. Kim, and I have to be honest, as you'll see here, he's quite a likable guy.
So we know the A's have looked at the Tropicana site for some time with interest, but how did this new deal come about after they pivoted from the Wild Wild West site?
Yeah, so we've been talking to them for actually almost 2 years, and really it's just been a continuous dialogue of, you know, what we thought, what we could do for them, what they wanted. And so the conversation continued even after they announced the Wild Wild West site.
Which is interesting and important in reverse, that even after they had secured those 49 acres, which was the land they were in a binding agreement to purchase, turns out that they were still having conversations with Bally's Corporation to go to the 9 acres at the Tropicana site. And maybe now we've arrived at a spot where even the Tropicana site is in question, because apparently the legislation that they are going to present any day now is not site specific.
So, we're able to get to a place where they thought that they can get the requisite public support, that we can, that the site worked for them and it worked for us. So, I mean, it's really been a continuous conversation.
What's the vision here? What's the vision from Bally's, from the A's? What kind of synergy you're looking for a hotel, casino, resort, and a ballpark?
I think the synergy is to make a lot of money and draw a lot of visitors. But no, I'm interested to hear how this goes.
Sure. From the A's, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think, if you think about where the location of the ballpark would be, it'd be in the sort of the southeastern corner of our 35 acres.
And that is important. That was initially reported, and I think everybody was under the assumption that, oh, this will be right on the physical corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard, like on that northwest corner, right literally on the strip, when in fact, 9 of 35 acres is approximately a quarter, but yeah, basically, but it's on the southeast corner, literally as far away from the strip, as far removed from the strip as possible, so that when Bally's tears down the Tropicana and rebuilds something else, they can have that on the strip. You'll have to walk through their hotel to get to the ballpark. But look, I understand that's why they would offer free land, so that they are part of the attraction. You have to go through the hotel to get to the ballpark, kind of like at Disneyland, how after you're done with the ride, you end up at the gift shop.
So that means that for the tens of millions of people that come to Vegas through that airport, it's one of the first things you see when you look towards the strip.
Which is true. I mean, from the airport taking off or landing, you are going to get a good glimpse of a stadium that would sit on that site. It is great advertising. I do not disagree. And look, that is a perk. And I'm sorry to put you on that awkward still frame, Mr. Kim, but no, he's absolutely right. I mean, it is a giant billboard in terms of the location.
And so that's, I think, I think that's a statement to what this could be. It could sort of be a major major league, but a new attraction for the Strip to just attract and keep visitors for that much longer. I think that's pretty exciting. Look, if you look at where the iconic "Welcome to Vegas" sign is, that sign on the left, you'll see the Mandalay, and on the right, you'll see the Tropicana. So it's right there at the entrance to Vegas, and so I think that's exciting. A couple other things, obviously, that corner of Tropicana Avenue and the Strip and Las Vegas Boulevard, that's got the most hotel rooms of any corner in the world. So
think about that for a second. That corner already has the most hotel rooms in the world. That intersection, Las Vegas Boulevard and Tropicana. So you've got New York, MGM, Excalibur, which is old but huge, and Tropicana, which is also old but pretty sizable.
The world. So that's before, ultimately we redevelop and add capacity. So
redevelop meaning tear down the old Tropicana structures and build up something brand new, even bigger, obviously much better.
I think that just gives a lot of built-in visitation. And look, the Strip itself, it's about walking, right? People, strolling up and down.
In the summertime, by the way, maybe not so much when it's 120. I don't know if it's about strolling up and down. I certainly don't do that in summer visits.
And really the best baseball experiences have that park somewhere else and walk to the game experience.
Which is true. But like I said, when climate is a factor, when heat is a factor, I don't know. I mean, that's optimal for other places. And look, this happens all the time in summer too, in the East Coast, where it's hot and humid versus Las Vegas, just hot and dry. Maybe the temperature extreme different in Las Vegas, the humidity elsewhere. Look, apples and oranges. I understand the sentiment. Park farther away and don't create a traffic problem. Walk into the ballpark, but walking into a ballpark when it's that hot, I don't know if that's entirely appealing.
And so I think that's all the reasons as to why I think our site works for the A's. For ourselves, look, we, GLPI ourselves, own the 35 acres. We do have, medium-term goals to renovate, which is, look, we all love the classic nature of the Trop, but it really is quite a dated facility. I think it's probably the oldest, operational facility. I think it was opened in 1959. So, we really, I think that there's a lot to be done on that site. Look, I know that we're making a commitment to give the A's these 9 acres, which is a very valuable contribution to the effort to hopefully attract some public funds and bring them to Vegas. But
yeah, by the way, the land value, they say, is about $20 million per acre times 9, $180 million worth of free land. And look, I said before, I like Mr. Kim's approach. I like how he presents himself. I mean, this is the chairperson of a large company and an entity here, and he's just very thoughtful and seems like down to earth and pretty transparent, honestly, about what they're going to do at that site with or without baseball. And I think that is a question later on, but he's very thoughtful in this interview, and I appreciate it.
But for us, it's also an opportunity to anchor whatever we do on the remaining 25 acres.
And that's what I'm saying before about, you build the ballpark and then you build whatever Bally's corporation is going to do around it. I mean, the reason they're giving away a free 9 acres of land is so that whatever they do is extremely more valuable because all of a sudden it has a huge magnet and attraction to it, maybe 81 plus times a year. That massive traffic driver, an event space that not only hosts a team, but also, with 30,000 plus seats can be used for other types of events and entertainment and acts. And it really just expands
the city as a whole. So we're pretty excited about it.
When he says traffic driver, he's not saying like physical, like actual traffic jams. He's just saying drawing people into it. Totally understand. Totally get it.
So from that land to the $175 million commitment from GLPI, this has to be worth your while. You're seeing you are looking at a massive return of investment here.
And what Jacqueline is asking about, great question, by the way, it's not just the free land. It's also the A's getting $175 million kind of as a perk for going to this site for future considerations and for increases in costs and maintenance and things. So it's not just the free land. It's also a monetary value of $175 million that the A's are getting. And I think what she's asking is, I mean, you really see a good partnership here if you're not only willing to give the free land, but also some cash value with it.
Yes, I think that, look, I think this is a win for the entire strip, right? Because again, these franchises, these major sports franchises, they don't grow on trees.
Well put. Totally get that.
There's, obviously there's only 30 clubs, and they don't move around that much.
Also very true. Let me also point out that there's only 30 clubs right now. There's about to be 32. Trust me on that one. 32 by the end of this decade, like literally almost for sure.
So I think this is a once in a generation opportunity to win a club.
Which I get from the Oakland perspective. Like when you hear that, it's not like you really want the A's. You're just trying to get baseball or any team. But again, like to be fair, from the Las Vegas side and from the Orlando side and from the Nashville side and from the Salt Lake City side, these areas are just looking to land Major League Baseball. How it happens, they're not really concerned with that. Obviously, it's more painful from the side of the team that's moving away than coming to your region.
Or the city. Look, I think people talk about, well, don't worry, in the future there'll be an expansion. I'm not so sure.
I am sure about it. Mr. Kim, you know about real estate, you know about hospitality and resorts, and you're the expert on that. I don't want to say expert at anything over here, but everything we've gathered, I mean, Commissioner Rob Manfred has plainly said, as soon as Oakland and Tampa Bay are squared away, 2 more teams, right? Because right now you've got 30, 15 American, 15 National League teams, and you'd rather have 16. To have that synergy so that you don't need interleague series all the time. You'd rather have 16, 16, 32, and then quite honestly, after that, baseball might be set for a while.
And I'm not so sure that an expansion will necessarily rate Vegas as the first choice.
But why not? See, I mean, I'm different on this. I think expansion and a fresh start and a totally clean slate and getting things kind of like a custom suit, how you want it in Las Vegas, might be appealing to Major League Baseball. Look, I think Nashville out east is kind of a sure thing at this point. And I do think that the next expansion franchise with Nashville would also be out west somewhere. So I understand he's being reserved and he's saying, hey, take advantage of the opportunity while it's in front of you. But I'd also like to add that this is a common sentiment I see among Las Vegans that you don't know that expansion is for sure. I can tell you that it is highly likely. In the same way that the A's are probably moving to Las Vegas here eventually, expansion with Major League Baseball is in that same high potential realm.
So I think this exciting move Oakland to Vegas is an opportunity. And I think it's just going to benefit. Obviously, we benefit from the fact that even though we're making this large sacrifice of value, the traffic driver, the attraction that the ballpark represents is worth it for our immediate acres that are adjacent. But frankly, I think everyone's a winner. Everyone across the street, the operators across the street, the operators up the strip. It's just another reason to visit the strip. And I think that's exciting.
A lot of people have questions about what's going to be done about traffic, especially if the A's are really relying on local attendance.
And that's, again, a big concern in Clark County, in Las Vegas especially. Obviously, funding is a huge part of this, but the logistics of in and out of this site, which is already a busy intersection. So good question. Let's hear how it goes.
I believe 70% was a figure that they threw out. Is there anything that Bally's is looking at to help the traffic situation for locals?
70% of locals, they're saying, would make up the attendance figures at this new ballpark? 70% locals, 30% tourists.
Sure, absolutely. So first of all, again, I think we talked about how the best baseball experiences across the country are ones where people park, quite a bit of ways in distributed parking and walk to the ballpark. Get that sense of anticipation and excitement.
Which is true. Again, like I've talked before about the heat and the climate, but I mean, he is making a good point there. Sometimes you march to the stadium with your fellow fans, and that does build some of the ambiance of a game, as opposed to, and I know it's a time-honored tradition in Oakland, tailgating in the parking lot, but maybe it doesn't have that same effect. As
you approach the din of the stadium, I think that can absolutely happen on the Strip. So that itself, just I think just as many people will likely park at an MGM lot as our lots. So I think that's a win for the community.
True. I'm wondering how much. I mean, I know MGM has parking in a garage. I'm wondering at the Tropicana site itself, might be difficult to fit a ballpark and a couple towers of a hotel and parking. But I digress. We'll see.
And it spreads the traffic around. I do know that the I-15 connector to Tropicana Avenue will be redone, and so I think that'll help there. But also, it just becomes a. We know that we also signed a deal with the Boring Company, so that the Tesla tunnel system. Really, I think the next set of tunnels are supposed to go across from Allegiant, T-Mobile, ourselves, and to the Thomas and Mack, and so that becomes like the sports corridor.
Let me just say something. It was criticized in Oakland the construction of a gondola system, right, to bring fans to a stadium venue at Howard Terminal. And sorry, Mr. Kim, I keep getting you on these awkward still frames, but the idea of a tunnel, of a one-lane tunnel as an actual literally vehicle to bring a mass amount of people in and out. I mean, a gondola is way better than a tunnel. And I know the tunnel thing is valuable. It keeps people off the roads, and it's a whole separate thing. There's also some safety concerns, I think, about this long term. But I get it. They're doing the loop, the Las Vegas loop, I think it's what it's called. But the Boring Company's tunnels, I really don't know if that's a novelty or an actual way to transport a mass amount of people into sporting events. I'm just, again, if people are going to be skeptical of a gondola, and that's understood, you definitely have to ask some questions about this.
So there's a monorail right across the street. I think there are lots of different ways to get to the game.
And the monorail, by the way, I think is actually way more efficient than a gondola, but also even than the tunnel system would be.
And so I actually think that we're optimistic that people will look at it and say that actually is a good plan.
Is there a theme for the hotel you're thinking of?
Well, there is a little bit, but I don't want to quite talk about it. But look, I think that the
I can respect that. There is, but I mean, this is strategy stuff here, and it's also not official yet.
If you think about the fact that we would be this first, forget about on the Strip, but just in the country, this sort of integrated ballpark and resort, I think that itself is thematic. I think that if you think about it, many of the themes have been done on the Strip, but has sports been done?
And you know what? He's absolutely correct. And obviously, when you're co-branding with a stadium and a team and this location, and I think, for Bally's Corporation, of all the different things that have been discussed in Las Vegas and public financing and traffic, I mean, Bally's Corporation is pretty transparent here in why this is obviously a good deal for them to partner up with a Major League Baseball team coming to town. So I totally see what they're strategizing here.
And I think that there's a lot of potential there.
So maybe we could see an homage to sports, certainly in the hotel as well.
I thought he wasn't going to tell us, but then he told us.
Something experiential for families.
Absolutely.
It's possible.
We've discussed that.
I want to ask about your tweet to an Oakland fan. I thought it was interesting that you tweeted them directly. You said, "I don't have the history, but we are willing to give the team a chance. Maybe a fresh start is best and best for the game." Tell me about that.
I think the backstory here, which I don't know that he gets into completely, is that a fan did tweet at him directly saying, "You're part of, stealing a team from our market." And I respect the way he responded. I think I might have glanced across it, but he's like, "Look, I honestly don't know where you guys have been. I'm only here and now, and this is what I do." And,
Well, I think that, look, again,
this is moving forward what we want to do as Bally's Corporation.
So I grew up a baseball fan. I grew up in Queens, so that makes me a Mets fan. So, look, I love baseball.
I told you I like this guy.
And I've noticed, and like everyone has, that over time, viewership has gone down, and I think that I don't think there's anything wrong with the game. I just think that like all sports, it just needs to continue to reinvent itself and re-engage the fans. I just think given what a tourist destination the Vegas Strip is. Not just for America, but also internationally. I think, making baseball have a visible presence there is just good for the game. I just can't imagine that that's not going to be embraced. It's just going to be just so, in your face in a good way. That I just think that it'll bring a new generation of fans into the game that we all love.
It's possible. It just needs to be embraced in Las Vegas to make it work financially and to make it viable. It has to be embraced like way past a honeymoon period. It's got to be very successful almost every year in and out to actually pay back what it's asking for publicly.
What's the plan if Nevada lawmakers don't come to a deal?
Whoa.
Yeah, look, we don't have a plan for that per se. I mean, obviously, we would, look, it's our position that we're doing our share. I do think, look, I can't speak for, the ownership or the league, but I just understand that in general, these team moves do involve public financing almost all the time. And I think the percentage, what I know, is that the percentage of the ask is actually relatively modest. I do think for what it's worth, again, that we have nothing to gain from it, but I think that there are other choices that baseball has. I think we should take advantage. I really do. And I hope that, again, we've done it. We've sort of put the stake in the ground and said, hey, I think this is going to be great for the city. It'd be great to watch, others to come and build support around this effort. Look, if it doesn't happen, then look, I think we'd be fine.
And I think they're in a situation where if it doesn't happen, they just change their plans. They're not fully as committed to this. I shouldn't say committed, but they're not as maybe stuck in this if it doesn't happen. Like the A's, if this doesn't happen at this site and it goes to a different site or whatever, or doesn't get approved, the A's obviously have a lot more at stake here, let's say it that way, than Bally's Corporation.
I think that, it's not like the value of the acres go down. We would still have a plan in the medium term to redevelop the site.
Plan B, obviously.
But I just think it's nothing is quite as romantic and captures the imagination as this sort of integrated sports resort. It would be really exciting to watch it happen.
Closing thoughts on this, your message to lawmakers and your message to locals watching with a range of different opinions here.
Yeah, I would be the first one it's not my place to speak to lawmakers. What I would just say is, I think for the community as a whole, though, I do think that this is a generational opportunity. I think that we shouldn't take it for granted. We're doing our share, and I hope that we'd love to see more of the community rally up. And say, hey, this would be great.
And see, maybe that's what he's suggesting right now is not happening, that there's not enough of a community push to get behind lawmakers to say this is what we want. Maybe there's some of the negative variety or just none of it at all. And maybe there's not the momentum. I mean, she's asking, what would you like to see? And he's saying just a little bit more public support.
So, the important constituencies speak up and say, yeah, this would be awesome. Not only the development that comes with it, but also, all the additional economic activity, the visitors, just the growing stature of the city. I think these are all things that we can celebrate.
So there you go. That is the chairman of Bally's Corporation, Soo Kim, who, again, I seem to like him. I like the way he presents things. He's very just easygoing and fair and transparent, and great job by Jacqueline Schultz there of Fox 5 in Las Vegas doing that interview. So let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Thumbs up on this video since you watched here all the way to the end. Congratulations on that. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel so that I can see you next time.